got a T-shirt with bloodstains all over it. Maybe laundry isn't your biggest problem right now.
I remember the day the candle shop burned down. Everybody just stood around and sang happy birthday.
And a security guard came over and said, "You're gonna have to move. You're blocking the fire exit." As though if there was a fire, I wasn't gonna run.
You make love to the right woman, Johnny, is beautiful, beautiful. I mean, the last time I made love to my wife, it was ridiculous. Nothing was happening. I looked at her, I said, "What's the matter? Can't you think of anyone either?"
I never learn, you know, like a waitress will bring my meal. "Hey, enjoy your meal, you too!" But you don't have one, do you? I'm a doofus. If you do eat, enjoy it when you eat it. If you have a break or something later, if you get an opportunity, that's all I'm trying to say. That's all that I'm driving at, really.
Hello, welcome to Comedy Think Tanked, a podcast with Leonard Kimball and Nick Gordon, two comedians who know how to take a drink and have a thought. Sit back, get comfortable, and enjoy. Now, whether they're ready or not, here's your hosts, Leonard and Nick.
Hello, Leonard.
Hello, Nick.
Welcome.
Are you there?
I'm there. Are you here?
Nick, can you hear me?
Yes, just fine.
Okay, great.
Is that a song?
Yeah. Oh my God. It's like dun 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 dun. Something. Can you hear me? I don't know. Yeah, this is awesome.
You're stretching the limits of my pop culture knowledge.
It's not pop culture.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
Yeah, it's like oh my God, it's like a movie with a song in it, like Papa, Can You Hear Me?
Oh God.
Is it like
Is it a
Cher?
Christmas movie?
No, it's like Cher or Meryl Streep or something like that singing. Oh goodness! If only there was a computer in front of me, I could just Google this.
That could take a while.
Okay.
Anyway, I think what's more important is that
you should say hello to the audience while I Google this.
Hello, audience. Today on the podcast, we have the amazing Casey Crawford. And if you don't know who Casey Crawford is, you need to know who Casey Crawford is, because Casey Crawford is going to be potentially the next big comedian to hit your brainwaves.
Yeah. He's great.
I mean, he is a great writer, a great performer. His stuff is so smart and so funny. And this fall, he's going to go on tour. I don't know who with, but he tells us he's going on tour. And so fall of 2021, you need to be paying attention to who's coming around your town, because if Casey Crawford's there, you need to see him. We've had the pleasure of working with him several times now.
Yeah, and he's crazy nice.
Crazy nice. So nice. He is when you say like, oh, he's one of the nice guys. No, he is the nice guy.
He's the nice guy.
He's the nicest person, and he's so talented. It's like it's such a, it's alarming almost, like when it's like, okay, this is somebody who doesn't have to be nice to us.
Right.
But yet he is. And not only is he is the nicest. And I don't mean to speak poorly of other people in our circle who might be really nice to us as well.
No.
Because they're nice as well, and it's great, and it's wonderful, and we all appreciate it, but fuck me.
Right. People don't, like, they don't bring, like, Leonard Kimball up and go, like, how nice he is. They say, like, oh, Leonard Kimball, he's fat.
He's fat.
Yeah. But Casey Crawford, he's nice.
He's nice.
Nice. It's funny.
No, it's we joke, but at the same time, like, no, we really enjoy being in considered a friend of Casey Crawford, because
right.
And I'm sure a lot of people are sitting here going, we don't know who Casey Crawford is. Well, you're going to find out. You're going to find out. You're going to find out, because we had a really good conversation with him, and in fact, it was mostly just us sitting by listening to Casey talk. Which was just fine. I could listen to him talk for hours.
Yeah, telling stories about what he's doing and the what was he on? Kimmel and
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and I'm sure he mentioned some other stuff too. But at the same time, it's more about his jokes, his delivery, his unique style that is captivating. So, boy, I really do have a hard on for comedians in general.
The weirdest thing about his conversation was how he brought up Barbara Streisand singing the song in the movie Yentl, "Papa, Can You Hear Me?" I didn't expect it.
The part of me wants you to never be able to access the internet again. But then at the same time, is that what it's from?
Yeah. I have it right here in front of me.
Nice.
Google.
Right.
"Papa, Can You Hear Me?" Song by Barbara Streisand. I don't like how she spells Barbara, but sure. But,
write her a letter. I'm sure she actually cares. I'm sure she's going to be like, well,
Yeah, is it too late to change that?
I'm going to say something horrible here. She's still alive, right?
I haven't gotten that far in Google. Let me check.
Good Lord.
I think she is alive.
Leonard, when you think about just in general, like people being good people, like what are your parameters when you think when you want to say someone's a nice person? Like, what do they have to achieve in order to be considered a nice person in your eyes?
Oh, well, it's like somebody who thinks about other people, I guess, a lot. Like I say this to my kids a lot. Like when I realize they do something that's like, I mean, they're not assholes, but like, hey, what you did wasn't very thoughtful. So I say to them a lot, hey, think about others.
Yeah.
Like, just think of others. Yeah. And so I think Casey's one of those guys that thinks about other people. Like, but yeah, in terms of like thinking about if someone's nice, I'm thinking they are thinking about what can I do to help out people around me? Am I considerate of people around me? Am I helpful to them? Am I, not trying to use them for my own gains? I suppose.
Sure.
But yeah, just being considerate of others and thinking about how my actions affect other people around me.
Right.
I try to do that.
Yeah, I definitely tell my children the same thing too. Like, I don't care what you become necessarily when you grow up. I want you to be successful and, able to stand on your own 2 feet and pay your bills and all that bullshit because I don't want to do it for you forever. But at the same time, like, just fucking be nice.
Yeah.
Just be a good person. Like, don't be that person that is an asshole.
Yeah.
Whatever your endeavors are, wherever life leads you, like, just try to be good.
Yeah, and you think it's hard, but sometimes I think like that's like the easiest path. It's like it's easy to think about, hey, how should I do this? Like not just burn bridges with people or
just to have a level of empathy that and not to the point where you're putting yourself into a predicament, but at least to a point where you understand that, oh wait, someone else's feelings are affected. I know that sounds kind of mushy and whatnot. And as guys growing up into our 40s here, and probably your dad, just like mine, was like, "Don't cry," You just like you can't.
Yeah.
Don't be too emotional. Like whatever, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but we still found a way to make it this far and try to be decent human beings.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
So other people are better at it. I love to say better than some, not as good as others. That's one of my. So I think I am. I do better than some, but not as well as others when that comes to that, and or anything in life. So, God, it's all very hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
What's great though is comedy.
Because people tune in for comedy.
People tune in for comedy, and that's what we're here for. I don't think we made anyone laugh these last 8 minutes.
I think I made a joke with the Barbara Streisand thing. I'm sure people laughed.
I'm positive.
I'm already getting letters that people said that was the funniest part of the intro part.
No one's walked into the room, but yeah, I'm sure you did text message or something. These get more and more awkward. Have we said this already? I think these get more and more awkward every time we do one.
Well, I think what it is that Well, yeah. So now we're peeking behind the curtain here. It's like I had envisioned this part of our podcast just us, having a casual conversation,
and it went too deep, didn't it?
and then sometimes we just the conversation went this way.
Yep.
And we're like, oh, well, how do we get out of this? Well, we don't necessarily have to get out of it. Let's just go where the conversation goes.
That's fine. Yeah.
And one of the things I like about some podcasts is like you feel like you're sort of intruding on intruding on a private conversation with people.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're trying to be entertaining to people, but it's you and I sitting at a table having a conversation.
Yeah.
So I don't mind that it's not as scripted.
It doesn't have to be scripted.
Right.
And it's
you and I have. You mean we didn't script my saying Meryl Streep or Cher and like, oh no, it's Barbara Streisand. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be
BABRA?
No, BARBRA. And I don't like that. There should be another A in there, I think.
I feel like there should be something.
Yeah, it should be BARBARA.
Probably should be that we just turn it over to Casey's conversation at this point in the game.
We're going to get letters from barbers now.
That'd be funny if we did. The president of the Barber Union. OMG.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we suck.
Maybe we should script these.
Well, guys, without further ado.
Casey Crawford, everyone.
Casey Crawford, thank you. All right. Hey, Casey, how's it going?
Hi. Are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
Hey.
We're live.
Yeah, we're in Maine.
Yeah, we are.
Casey Crawford, thank you for joining us.
No problem, fellas. I like working with you a lot, and I was telling my wife, don't tell them, but I would do this for free.
That's okay. We're not recording or anything.
I would come up here and hang out for free.
Oh, we appreciate that. We love having you here. So
It's pretty rare in comedy to hang out with someone who is your age in approximation. Every other person I talk to, I feel like I'm talking down to because there's nobody else my age who's at the mics.
No, that is true. When you go to an open mic, it's like, oh, well, look at all these 21-year-olds. They just learn how to drink and tell a joke.
Yeah.
Right.
I was talking to a kid the other night, and he was like, they're all like 10 sets in, I know what I'm doing now, I think. It's been 3 months. I changed my profile picture.
I got some headshots.
Yeah.
I got an agent now.
I remember when I started comedy, it was like, change your profile picture. A week. You did one mic. And then that's when you changed you're holding the Shure SM58. There you are. Look, Mom and Dad.
I'm doing it.
And
by the way, I'm moving to L.A.
Yep, I'm moving to New York. I got 5 minutes.
That's interesting because I was wondering how soon before to start actually calling myself a comedian.
I don't know, Leonard.
I don't know. It's like
5 minutes before I got here.
Right. It's like you've made people laugh on a microphone. That should count. That should count as being a comedian. You're a comedian.
Well, it's like a musician.
Yeah.
What's a musician?
Yeah.
Is it a person who plays in a cover band every weekend? Is it a kid who just does mics?
Yep.
Is it a Wilco? It's all those things because it's art.
Right.
So it's not like I'm an accountant. Okay, well, you're an accountant. All right. Well, are you making money? No. I'm accounting for it doesn't work on the same level, but when it does, or when people try and associate it, it's because of money.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you make a living doing comedy? I remember Mike Lawrence. Remember him?
Yeah.
Oh, great comedian. He was like, it's the levels are you funny enough to make your friends laugh?
Mm-hmm.
Are you funny enough to make other people laugh? Are you funny enough to make money?
Yeah.
And those are the 3 levels.
Yeah.
And I think the funny enough to make money is a long road before funny enough to make a living.
Right.
Which is that
Right.
other level, which is almost impossible, I think, to get to for most people.
Well, if you
Yeah.
if you look at the actual straight comedians who are actually making a living and a good living, you probably there's 20 of them.
Right.
You know
and
what I mean? Like-
underneath them, there's thousands of dreamers. But
Exactly.
not only that, the thousands of people you talk to that you're like, I remember I lived in Austin for a year and did comedy, and there was a guy there, the only guy in town who was really could call himself a full-time comedian. One guy in that town at that time.
Okay.
And he did the Funny Bone chains, and he would work clubs every weekend, and it's because his wife was a lawyer.
There you go.
And you look at my situation, or anybody you talk to for more than 5 minutes, or anybody who got into a good school, or somehow got some sort of amazing job, it's because of the soup that added up to that time.
Sure.
And then the same goes with this. Once you sit down and talk to comedians, you realize that it's hard work, but it's also just like all these circumstances have fallen into place for me to just be a piece of shit most of the time. Like, yeah.
So, like, do you have a full-time job?
I work a pathetic job.
A pathetic job.
In hopes that in the fall, I'm going to go on tour with a comedian whom I respect very much, and I'm willing to. I'm in a situation where my wife is like, do what you need to do, because clearly you can't do anything else, or you don't want to do anything else. Like, so just do this. We'll be fine. And that's been our approach.
Yeah.
And she's been very patient with me. So I have a master's degree in communications with an emphasis in critical cultural theory.
Oh my goodness.
From the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
Yeah.
I work two
We are
days.
too stupid to be in the same room with you.
No, hear me out, Leonard. So I work 2 days a week at a Super Petroleum gas station from 3:30 to 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
You remember Reality Bites? Remember the job Ethan Hawke had where he got fired for stealing Snickers bars?
Yeah.
That's my job. I have a teenage job.
Oh my goodness.
And at that job, I don't... you have a real job, Nick, right?
Oh, yeah.
Leonard, you have a real job.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go home and you worry about your job.
Yeah.
I don't worry about my job.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I make $600 a month. But it's
I
like...
thought he was going to say a week.
No, Nick.
Sorry.
It's way worse than that. It is. I don't even look like... This is how bad my job... I don't look at the deposits that go into my bank account.
Yeah.
I'm just like, all right. Okay.
just like,
but
whatever.
I'm totally fine because,
Yeah.
I make a little bit of money doing comedy and things like that. But for the most part, the whole point of the game is to get to the point that when the fall comes and this guy who wants to go on tour with me wants to go, I'm ready to go. They can replace... I am a body...
Yep.
Who can be replaced. And at that point, I'll just put all my chips on whatever happens with that tour. I have almost an album, unless I'm performing in front of recent high school graduates. But I have almost an album, and by the time that tour's ready, they're gone, and we've gone wherever we're going, I'll be like, all right, let's put this baby on record.
Yep.
Let's do it. And that is the short-term goal for me right now.
I like it.
Oh, that's cool.
To me, I'm going to put a record out, and it's a 10-year document of my life, and it's so sad. It's so sad, but to me, it reminds me of like that guy, almost like it could be that situation where the guy just dies, and then his wife is like, well, you had this thing, maybe I should whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be that. I don't want to work on it my entire life, but at the same time, 10 years of you guys getting mortgages and having children and buying vans and
Yep.
was 10 years of me in that van
Yep.
writing shit jokes.
Yep.
Well,
they're not shit jokes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's been 10 years since you started comedy?
Yeah. I don't know if I told you guys this before, but I started in graduate school. My best friend, TJ Ross, is a funny guy. You guys remind me of him. He doesn't do comedy.
Yeah.
He works at a university in rural Minnesota.
Yeah.
But he and I have always been two people who understood each other on like a different level.
Yep.
And we were like, one day in 2011, we were like, between him myself and my wife, we were like, let's all try and get 5 minutes together in 6 months.
Yep.
We approached it in kind of like we're adults. We're not dumb enough to be like, oh, I wrote this today. Let's go.
Right.
Or we're not, we're smarter than that. So it was like, let's give ourselves 6 months. We'll all write 5 minutes. We'll all go up at a mic.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
So my wife drops out. She never, she was just like, I'll do it. And then, no. But she helps to this day.
That's good.
She
Yep.
does. She's very encouraging. And TJ has a, it's one of those situations where you have your friend. A lot of people start that way. My friend wanted me to start. We were both going to start. He didn't come to the mic. I went. Here I am 5 years later.
Right, yep.
TJ is the same case. And we talk on the phone and we write jokes together. We work on stuff together. But those guys dropped out.
Yeah.
And we took the 5 minutes that we all had that we thought was worth listening to.
Yeah.
And I did it.
Nice.
And,
Okay.
And that was 10 years ago. And then it was from that point, I was never good at anything when I was a kid. I was always like a smart aleck, but no one wanted to listen to me. Like,
Yep.
the underdog. I was a good singer. And that came somehow just naturally. Like I could sing when I was a kid. I was born by the river. Like I could sing like that.
Okay.
Somehow
That's pretty
just
good.
Yeah.
no practice.
Yeah. No formal training.
Seventh grade, no attention for my entire life. And then suddenly
Singing.
Yeah. And then suddenly I was like, oh, this is what it's like to be good at something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
And I was good at it, but not to the level of like I want to get better at it. I was just like, oh, it's easy for me to sing karaoke, I'll go win $100 or
Yeah.
a bar tab or no problem.
Sure.
But putting the work into it was something completely different. That feeling I had, that feeling you get when you're like, oh, finally I found my thing. Mm-hmm. I thought I found it, then, but I didn't want to put the work into it. But that night when I did that mic,
Yeah.
it wasn't amazing, but I felt as though I could create something that day or whenever, write it, mold it together, and show it to somebody.
Yep.
That's great.
And if that's as far as it went, beyond making that room full of people laugh 2 or 3 times or whatever I did in that 5 minutes, oh, fuck, that was enough.
Yeah.
That was enough.
What a feeling, huh?
Oh, it's still there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's still, it's like a pilot light.
Yeah.
Comes on, never goes off.
Yeah.
Never goes off until... The best part about comedy, and I've told you guys this before, no one can tell you to stop.
That's right.
That's why I started doing music, too. I played music, and I had a guitar teacher, and she was real wise, and she was just like, the best part about this, man, is that you're not very good at this, playing guitar and singing, but no one's going to tell you to stop. They might. They'll put you in a little room until you die.
Yeah.
But, like, they can't. There's no police.
Exactly right.
There's no comedy police.
Right,
There
right.
is at the industry level and the I can't make any money or booked on shows, but there's no nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing is stopping Leonard from writing something and getting up at an open mic and doing it.
Right.
At its base level, no one can take that away. No matter how many assholes do comedy or run shit or 22-year-olds you got to ask to get on shows.
Right.
That's all shit you can't control.
Right.
The thing you can control is what you're writing and what you're saying on stage.
100%.
Yeah, that doesn't go away. That's why I still do it.
That's why we started doing our own shows and such. It's like, we want more of this uncontrollable thing. We want to get hold of it, and you see it here. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people showing up tonight for this show.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that we live in a time now where comedy is exciting to people, where it's the equivalent of when I was growing up. It was just like there's a band at the bar.
Yep.
You didn't ask what kind of music it was. You just went to the bar.
Just something to see. Yeah.
Right. There's someone playing.
And the same is with comedy now. It's like there's comedians. No one's like, oh, is Leonard Kimball on the show? No one's like, is Casey Crawford on the show? No, they're just like, it's like pizza.
Yeah.
But it's like pizza at a fucking roller rink. Oh, you got pizza?
Yeah.
No kid is like, oh, what's on the pizza? It's just like, it's pizza.
Yeah.
Same with the comedy now, where it's just like, oh, we'll go be entertained.
Yep.
And people are super aware of comedians now.
Oh, yeah.
Much more so than I mean, when you have a conversation with somebody, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I'm like, just a normal person. I'm like, Maria Bamford? And they're like, I don't know who that is. Or I'm like, Richard Jenny.
Yeah.
Like, my wife doesn't know who. You don't realize how deep you are into it sometimes, but people on the periphery, they can name you 2 or 3.
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah.
But we could sit here and probably rattle off
Hundreds, thousands,
Yeah.
maybe
Easily. Yeah. Oh man. So 10 years develop that first 5 minutes. Let me ask this: that first 5 minutes, was it anywhere near what your time is now? Like, what was it? Your set now compared to that 5 minutes? What type of jokes were you doing then versus now?
Well, it's interesting to me. My approach was largely shaped by who I was doing comedy with at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a small scene in Omaha, and there was, maybe 20 people max that would say they're like any comedy level, open mic or whatever. And so when I started, it was a bunch of guys who had that same idea that you have, Nick, that no one can tell us to stop, and that we're just going to do this. There's no entry point for comedy.
Nope.
There is no requirement. There's no license. Just we're going to do it. And that's what they did. So no one was that great when we all started. But then they would bring in like these big timers that would do like, in Omaha, they would do like the Funny Bone. And then, these three guys would get them on a Monday.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, you're 6 months in. Scrape 5 minutes together. You're opening up for Kyle Kinane. It would just go horribly. But we get these big opportunities right away.
That's cool.
We get these opportunities to go. Oh, you're already on a rock club. You're two months into stand up and you're hosting.
Jesus,
and that's how it started here in Boston with all those people when they made money in the 80s. Was just like, we need somebody.
Yep.
Can you go open for Lenny Clark or or whatever? Like, yeah, that's how it started for me. But like, I remember specifically formulating my approach early on based on this whole idea of like taking an angle that would never be taken, and that promise I made to myself, or not a promise, hasn't always held up. There's been jokes I've written that I'm like, okay, I thought this was the one. Do you ever see that episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Charlie is on and they're doing the Family Feud, and Charlie answers all the answers that are like, one person said this, that answer. This is like, who the fuck would even think of that? Like, and he would answer correctly every time. You get that, and it's because he was the one who filled out the survey.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he took that little 1% slice of that concept, and that was his answer. And that's the way I always wanted to approach comedy, where it's just like, be the only one who does it like this.
Okay.
Try and tackle this subject in such a way where it's just like you're looking at it from a God's eye, and you're looking at it from the angle that isn't obvious.
Yeah.
Like, when I was in graduate school, I learned how to write, edit and write.
Sure.
And, I don't know who edited. I was reading something you guys wrote. Maybe I sent it to you or somebody, but they did a better job of editing it than I did. But editing and the mechanics of comedy and the up and down of the language and the terseness of the language, one syllable instead of two, poop instead of shit. Those things take years to slowly realize, but I had those seeds early on where it's like, okay, and I told jokes that were terrible at first, just white guy jokes. Yeah. Terrible white guy jokes for the first couple of years, and then you're like, oh, geez, I'm funny. Why doesn't, and then you realize, oh, okay.
What I'm saying actually matters.
The slow realization that you either eventually come to or you don't, and you just become Nick DiPaolo or whatever, like, I had that. It took time for me to get to that level where I had to kind of come out of that skin and become better. Yeah. But I also was influenced by people like, there was this writer named Henry Miller, and he wrote this book. He wrote a lot of books, but he was as filthy, disgusting. Like D.H. Lawrence was like, I'm going to talk about pussy, but in a way where you'd read it and be like, is this guy talking about pussy? In a way where you're just like,
he is.
this is a kid could read this. Yeah. Not understand it, but an adult could read and be like, "Oh, this guy's dirty."
Oh, goodness!
And then I always thought like comedy does a really good job that books used to do of making things like. There's another guy who his name escapes me, but talking about things like poop and cum and shit and period blood and all those things that we don't want to talk about in the same sentence as like a beautiful day. Yeah. Or it can be beautiful and gross and sad,
poetic
and funny all at the same time. Yeah. And that was what I wanted to do. And that's quite an undertaking. I understand that. But I think either consciously or subconsciously, that was always my approach. It's just like, let's write this joke that is so gross, but try and get this lady to laugh at it who works at a bank.
I love it. That's good. That's good.
Anyway, so getting back to origins and how one starts and how you form life. If you guys think, did you guys start at the same time or roughly?
No, I'm probably 6 or 7 years in.
Okay,
and
you are.
I'm 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So like, if you would have started with a friend, your styles would have been shaped by each other.
For sure, yeah.
And mine, I started with a group, and there was one guy there who wrote one-liners so amazingly. He still does. He's a machine gun. And he's great on the internet writing jokes, and he, writes jokes, I think, for bigger comedians. But like, I saw that, and I'm like, okay. It was about the time of Twitter starting too, so I'm like, a lot of people are writing jokes who aren't comedians that are like whatever. So like, seems kind of obvious. Maybe Twitter would be where the route I'd want to go. I do short jokes. This other guy does short jokes. But then I saw the difference between his and mine. His were topical. His were like non sequitur.
Yeah.
I like this comedian named Emo Phillips.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Do you guys remember him?
Yeah.
Yep.
Love him. I think he's Eugene Merman's favorite too.
Okay, cool, yeah.
But Emo does shorter jokes that go a narrative style about his life.
Yep.
And that's kind of the angle that I am trying to build with this thing, where it's just like, hey, these are going to be one-liners in some sort of way, but they're not going to be like the president, a car. It's all kind of hopefully going to flow into this world building thing that is like a mild variation of what Emo did, but it's still my attempt at that. And I think that's probably why it's taken me so long. Because there's times when I'm like, I'll think of a joke and I'm like, oh, that's great. Where does that fit in my story?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll sit on it and maybe do something with it later. And I'm not good enough to be like, how do I change it? How do I shine up this whatever? So it's like, I'll just...
You get frustrated by that?
I used to, but now I'm in my head all the time. Now it's like part of the approach already, where the filter's on, where it's just like, how do I make that about my wife?
Yeah.
Whereas before, when you're first 6 months or 6 years in or whatever, you're just like, how do I just write a joke about something?
Yeah.
And now you're just like, oh, that's funny. How do I make that about my wife?
Yeah.
How do I fill that little hole I'm looking to fill subconsciously?
Right.
Like, and that's taken time. I always saw myself as, you got the bakery with all the donuts, and the donuts are $1, and people buy 12 of them, whatever. I don't work at that bakery, and there's one of those on every corner.
Yeah.
I don't work at that bakery. I work at the little cupcake place the guy has, where he makes little cupcakes all day, and they're fucking pretty good.
Yeah.
And they're better than those $1 donuts at the chain donut place.
Yeah.
And not everybody likes his cupcakes.
Yeah.
But the people who do like it, they really like it.
And they're always there. Yeah.
And that's enough of a life for me.
That's awesome. Oh,
yeah. I think I was telling you guys, I saw Tony V last night in Manchester, and like, I asked myself, how does a person do comedy in this area for 30 years and not become some sort of like, how do you just do comedy without the intent of becoming like a guy who goes to rehab and becomes a huge superstar?
Right.
How do you just do comedy? And I look at Tony, and he's danced in and out and been on TV and stuff, but for the most part, the comedy it exists outside of that.
You look at any bill
world.
Pre-pandemic, he's been on it. You
Yeah.
know, from Boston, North, East, West,
Yeah.
Tony V has been around.
Yeah.
Right. But yet he's not someone you can look at on Netflix and,
Right, and there's a lot of comics like that. I remember I used to go down these YouTube holes where I'd watch these like self-made documentaries about comedians, like you guys do, where it's just like, I'm just going to make a documentary about my friends in the open mic scene here in Huntsville, Alabama. I'll watch those. I watch them.
I didn't even know they existed. We got to find that.
Oh,
That sounds
yeah,
good.
there's all kinds of...
That's pretty cool.
Well, at least there was back before podcasts became the main thing. Before it was just like, here's my mini doc about my friends. But I'd watch those, and I found out about this guy named Stuart Huff from Indiana. So like he's like Bob Marley, where it's like in that state, he's a legend. But no, and he tours around, and you call him a road dog.
Yeah.
A road dog, but not all road dogs are just hacky, whatever. Some of them are just people who are like, I got kids, man.
Right. I got to go home tonight.
Yeah. I got a dog and a car, and I work.
Yeah.
Sure, but I'm funny.
Yep.
And I thought, if that's the life that I have, where it's just like, I just live here, and I don't have to fire my stepdad, and That's a great life.
Yeah.
And I would do it regardless. I'm going to, eventually I'm sure we'll move to some little town when I'm an old man. I'm going to do the mic at the bar. And if there isn't one, I'm going to start one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be there.
I'll be there too. Like, I love, it's a deep ocean comedy, and I love swimming all over the place.
Nice.
Yeah. I went to New York for 2 years.
Yep.
Slept on a mattress in a room and lived a hard life for a 40. At the time, I was 41.
Yeah.
I had no windows in that fucking room. I
That's
lived there
crazy.
for 2 years because I went there because I was like, all right, I'm going to try and get into the clubs here.
Yep.
And I made some progress there, but New York is weird because you think it's right there. It's right there. And then you get there and it's just a building that's locked. All the doors are locked.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're here. Jake Gyllenhaal's on the other side of that door, and you're just as far away as you were when you were in fucking Maine.
Yeah.
But that's what New York was for me.
Interesting.
Okay.
But at the same time, I said to myself, you don't do things like everyone else does, Casey, so just survive here. And I did. And I started doing mics and shows with musicians, not comics, because I'm like, they're not going to have me host at New York Comedy Club, not anytime soon, you know. So I'm going to go where I'm wanted. And I did there. And I'd go to all the boroughs, Staten Island, New Jersey, and I'd do the shit mics with nobody, like on a, and then eventually I'd start getting bigger stuff in New York, and like, but what keeps me going back there and keeps me doing comedy is not that stuff. It's like the everyday where it's just like, all right, today is Saturday. I know that on Monday night, I better do a mic.
Yep.
I better keep doing. And like you said, Nick, I don't see anybody 10 years in at mics.
No.
And I think maybe they'll say you get to a point where you write and you're okay with yourself enough to be like, I tried that the other night at the theater. It didn't work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't do that for the most part, But I think like if you're a 10-year in comic, you do because you're confident enough in yourself. But I'm never going to be like that. Like if I ever get to do comedy long enough as Tony V does, I'll be at the mic in Manchester.
It's because you're working every night.
Not necessarily that. What I get out of it is that part of it. I like that part of it, man. It's like, to me, if we were all just in some town where we all just brought our guitars and played at an open mic and we were all pretty good, but it was never more than that, sounds good.
Yep.
Sounds like a fulfilling life.
Sounds pretty fun, yeah.
I talked to my friends from high school who are like, yeah, I'm a doctor and I got to drink 8 glasses of wine before I go to work every day. And I'm like, I'm poor.
Yeah.
I'm not really poor because of my wife, but like, I'm glad that I chose this stupid path.
That actually fulfills you.
Fulfillment.
Yep.
Yeah, like you realize when you get older, you're like, oh, I should just try and have a fulfilling life on whatever level I can.
Yep.
And that's all I'm doing.
You got to figure we're in our 40s. We're probably all about halfway through right now.
100%.
So
I'd say I've got 18 years. I'd say.
Based on your diet, or?
Yes, I'd say. Diet, genetics, all that jazz. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be 88.
Yeah, probably ought to enjoy it then.
Yeah. But I think I'll age into myself really well, just in terms of like being an old guy that, because I shit on myself in my comedy. Yeah. That's the whole thing is just, you remember The Simpsons?
Yep.
Gil? Old Gil. Like, that's what I do. Emo does that too. Every joke is just he's shitting on himself. And I'm like, it's going to be so good when I'm 60.
I think that's the best comedy.
Yeah.
I think that's the funniest jokes is when, because people see it, they can see you, and they see you, and like, let me just tell you how bad it really is.
Right. Like, I haven't completely grown into that phase yet, but when I'm just an old man where people are like, oh, yeah, look at that old man. That's so sad, as opposed to doing a room, in maybe like a rural part of the world where I dress like I dress, and they're like, this guy ain't driving a truck.
There's no
that
way.
part will be over when I'm 60.
Right.
When I'm 60, I'll be like, look at this poor old fucker.
What made you start wearing the coat and the hat and whatnot?
Insecurity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I brought it up.
No, it's really a thing where the coat was maybe like a Gabe Kaplan type thing, where it's just like this is what a homeless professor would wear. His wife, he's just still he's in the trees. He's still wearing the jacket.
He's in the trees?
Whatever. Like, she kicked him out. She drops him off at the Frisbee golf course. 2 months later, he's still wearing the jacket. So that, and then the beanie was always like, I had 2 uncles in my hometown who ran a garage that was probably just an excuse for them to smoke weed all day, but it's a garage.
Yeah.
They'd work on cars and they'd dress like this year round.
Yeah.
My Uncle Steve, he looked, it's just like, are you a bassist? But like, he'd work on cars and he'd have a hat all day. And I'm like, that's me.
That's perfect.
I did comedy without a hat the other night. And if I would have been, on stage, and if there would have been any time where I'm like, you're not wearing your hat, you're not wearing your hat, you're not wearing it. I may have been something that glitched in my brain, but it was fine. And then, you realize, like, it's almost like a binky.
Yeah.
You were just, no. And your mom takes it out of your mouth, and you're like, oh, I'm still alive.
Oh, okay.
That was all just me? Okay. 20 years of that? Okay.
That's funny.
Or like a superstition, like if you pitched a no-no and you danced over the foul line every time you're going to do that.
On.
Yeah. Do you guys have lucky socks or anything? Or?
I do. No, but I think at this point we're starting to develop our personas, and
I've gotten to the age where I got some lucky compression socks now because of how old I am.
Do you have compression socks, Leonard? Do you?
No. I don't know. I do have some socks that are like tighter than others, and I realized, my feet and legs feel a lot better in these. Maybe I should actually invest in some
good socks.
Some good socks.
Very underrated. I'd say it's almost as important as good shoes.
Yeah, good socks, good shoes.
Yeah, Nick, when you get to be our age, Nick, you'll understand this sort of thing.
I'm only a couple years behind.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think to prep myself for stuff, it was always that. I remember I maybe told you folks this one time too, but I did comedy on Zoom with that Dan Mintz guy, and he is Tina on Bob's Burgers.
Yep.
He's a one-liner comedian.
Okay.
And on Zoom, you remember Zoom, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you guys remember Zoom. It's not the best environment for comedy sometimes, and Mintz does those 3 jokes a minute. Same as me, kind of whatever. And like, he's in his apartment in New York City doing Zoom. And behind him is a red velvet curtain and a stand with a SM58, and he's talking to a microphone that's not plugged in. And that's his binky.
Interesting.
I think maybe if you think about it, you probably got one too.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, where it's just like, some people are like, I got to have a scotch and soda.
Well, yeah, actually, I do a joke about my glasses, and I was thinking one night, I'll wear my contacts tonight instead. And I was like, oh shit, I can't because I don't have my glasses to joke about. And I would hate to have my contacts in and start in with my glasses bit, my eyesight bit, and everyone be like, what the fuck's he talking about?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think,
it's like a weird nightmare that you're just like, oh shit.
Oh no.
I didn't think about everything.
My binky is my set list.
Yeah?
Like, I have it printed out, and I have it in my pocket like all the time. And I don't pull it out during shows, but I have to look at it. I have to look at it like 2 seconds before I walk on stage. I have to look at it again.
100%. Like, I have the joke, I'll write it out on my phone, and then I give every joke a little title that only I ever see that's funny to me.
Yeah.
And no one else. Like, people pick it up, like, what is this?
What is that?
Yeah, and it's just like this weird code to memorize the thing because it's all composed, and I put it in my pocket, and it's there with me at all times.
Right.
Even though I don't look at it.
Right.
One time I looked at it. Do you remember the high school the other night?
Yeah.
There was probably 2 times during that set where I was like, oh shit, what's next? And there was almost a half a second but I didn't. And I was so proud of myself.
That's funny because I wasn't watching you. I was sitting around the corner the other night, and I was listening to you, and never once did I think to myself like, what's happening? What's next?
Yeah.
Because from just hearing the sound of your voice, I knew like you knew each thing. So nobody in that audience had a clue because I know you.
You guys will see too as you record your sets at an open mic where you're trying brand new stuff or you're bombing.
Yeah.
You'll feel so bad about it as it's happening, and then you'll be done, and you'll listen to it, and you're like, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I'm just remembering how bad it was when it happened
The
first
feeling that
50
I had
times.
in my heart.
Yeah.
I forgot my glasses. Yeah, like that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell that to people all the time. People will say, to us now, like, "Oh, how'd I do this and that?" I was like, "Actually, you're really good." And like, "Oh, I don't feel that."
Nope.
First timers and whatnot, and new
It's
people.
just like that fucking Maria Bamford chick.
Yeah.
Who's Maria Bamford?
Yeah.
They don't know.
They'd have
just
no
like,
idea.
oh, you have no. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yep. No.
I was only casually listening anyway. I think that's what most people do. I remember seeing Louis C.K. at this big football stadium in Austin at Oddball Fest.
Yeah.
When they did that, like, let's tour stadiums with comedians. I saw him, and I was in the back of the festival.
Oh man.
And I was like, when you go to a club and you're in the way back, people aren't necessarily laughing back there. They're
Right.
kind of on the periphery. And I'm like,
Right.
what's it like when, at the time, the greatest comedian is filling a stadium and we're a football field away from him? Can he make this woman laugh who's sitting next to me? And you know what? Sadly, he could.
Oh, damn it.
I mean, it was amazing. But I've been to clubs. I've been to like Cap City and Austin and the good clubs, and I've sat in the back during like Segura and like the people who are big now, you know. And it's not as like unanimous as you think it's going to be. And even when you go to a show, I mean, you're not like.
No.
You're kind of like in and out in your mind too, as a comedian too. You know, maybe it's like, oh, I've seen this person before. I'll just kind of. But for the most part, it's just, you're kind of in your set. You're in your head.
Yep.
You know, like I think people casually listen to comedy.
Yeah. not as casually as they listen to music. We always talk about that. Like if you go to if there was music here tonight instead of comedy, everyone would be gung ho about music.
Yeah.
But only 50% of the people here are gung ho about comedy.
Oh yeah, you do see that too, where it's just like, hey, there's people sitting inside.
Yeah.
There would never be that if there was a cover band outside.
God, no. Everyone would be outside dancing and whatnot. 100% all in, you know.
Yeah.
But comedy's not so much.
I remember I did my first festival ever was in this little town in Iowa called Toledo. I mean, little, like
Toledo, Iowa?
Yeah, like 400 people, little.
Oh, God.
The town had 2 bars, and like it was a festival that this guy convinced a lot of good comics to do. I was surprised, but I was just a local guy that I was lucky enough to see. But there were 2 bars, and they would both have shows. It was like, well, 5 o'clock this show, and then at 7 o'clock go over to the Busy Bee Pizza Place for the next show, and back here. And one of the bars was just like the Legion Hall that the local veterans would drink at, and somehow only 2 bars in town, so there's a comedy festival. One of these bars, they did not. No. So it's like you got put on that show, and this is like you and the other 3 comics.
Oh, man.
And then like a guy with his back turned to you at the bar, and
seen it.
There was one guy, I remember doing that, and you know, you get in your first festival and you're so excited. You were just like, I'm at a festival. Yeah, back before when there wasn't like one every weekend. It was like, you know, I'm a comedian. And I remember going there and being so stoked and getting put on that show, and like the guy who was there was 3 of them at the bar, and the guy kind of liked it.
Yeah.
He tolerated me afterwards.
He didn't shout at you.
No, he just kind of sat at the bar. Afterwards, I went up to the bar and I ordered a drink, and I was like, oh, thanks for coming. And he's like, I would have been here anyway. And I'm like, you know, there's another show at the Busy Bee up the street, and there's some really great comics from like Chicago, and the guy's like, oh, I don't go over there. You live in a town of 400 people with 2 bars in it,
and a whole comedy festival.
You've never ventured over the hill one time in your life.
Yeah,
and we're feuding.
Yeah.
This story does not end with him going to the Busy Bee, does it?
No. He's probably still never been there. I'm sure he's like, I guess I'll try pizza. You know?
You only live once.
I've heard good things about this pizza thing.
Oh, man. I think we've seen that same guy at most of our shows, actually. Yeah.
He's my dad.
Oh, my God.
So how far along into comedy did the Jimmy Kimmel Live appearance happen? How did that come about?
I started in 2011. I had a friend who also started with me in Omaha, who was very funny, named Abby Rosenquist. I don't know where she's at now, but she was working with Shane Gillis for a while. Like, it's amazing. Like, when I started in Omaha, you know, people say like, oh, there's nothing there. Well, you have to think, when there's one city with 5 states around it with nothing else going on, all the people who want to make music or do art go to that city. So it's like in Omaha at the time, we had 3 people who got Just for Laughs, like Kaboom, 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 and then like Adam Devine is kind of from there too, that kid who started Workaholics. So there's funny people there, and there's kind of a culture of funny there a little bit, and she was really good. Anyway, she got Montreal. We're all amazed, like, how does that even happen? Because Montreal, at least it used to be, it's not anymore, but at least it used to be like this kind of like the Masons or whatever, where it's just like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
And I can't tell you. Sorry. You know, it's just like, you know, you just one day you get a phone call. And she recommended me. And I was blown away, but I couldn't believe that. I was working at Tufts in Boston.
Yeah.
Alicia, my wife, had just gotten the job at Berkeley, and I was working at Tufts in Boston, and I was just excited to do Boston comedy.
Sure.
Because I love the
Yeah.
comedy studio. That's my favorite place. And I was just excited to do that. But when I got that, they called me like the next week, and I did some phone interviews with Jeff Singer, who, if you watch the news, was the guy who just got...
Oh, that controversial, okay.
He just resigned, but I talked to him in the phone interview process a few times, and got into Montreal as a new face, is what they call it.
Yep.
It's like, here's some hot young people. I remember he told me, don't tell them how old you are. And then I went up to Montreal, and I did well up there, for like 2, it's like Hollywood moves up to Montreal for like 7 days.
Yeah.
And for 2 hours, I was the next big thing.
Oh, man.
I remember I got the paper. I was in the paper up there right next to Tim Dillon.
Yeah.
It was him and me. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I freaked out. I was freaking out. I was
Sure.
like, I'm not ready for this.
No.
Because I wasn't. Because I started when I was 32. At that time, I was, 38? Which, when you see a comedian who's 38 with good jokes, you think, oh, he must have been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah.
He must be the diamond in the rough I never discovered.
Right.
But no, it's just like, I have 15 minutes.
And that is
Right.
it.
Yeah. And I was working full time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm doing comedy 2 days a week, maybe if I'm lucky. It's just like, I wasn't full time, but I think all they want from Montreal is like 7 minutes. You're doing a 7-minute, George Wallace hosted it. You do 7 minutes, you do a couple of shows up there, and that's all they want.
Wow.
Because it's about what you can become, and it's not about what you are.
Okay. No, that makes
A
sense.
lot of people,
Yeah,
a lot
okay.
of people got upset or get upset about Montreal, and why don't I get JFL? Like some great comics never got JFL. You
Yeah.
know, it's because they're looking for something. It's not that you're not funny; they're just looking for something different. It's like, why didn't I get that part? The part of the blind neighbor? You're not blind. Like, there is that element of it too that was involved, and I think for me it was probably a situation where it's like we were at a time when a lot of people weren't doing jokes.
Yep.
They're still not really doing jokes. Comedy's kind of changed back into the George Carlin, what does it all mean?
Right,
type
sure.
comedy. This is what I'm saying about society. A lot of
Yep.
people weren't just telling jokes.
Right.
And I think they liked that
Yep.
about me. They're like, Jeff Singer, he likes Dave Attell.
Yep.
So he's like, oh, you're a person who tells jokes. Anyway, so I went up there, did well, came back to Boston, didn't hear anything. You go up there, you get an agent. I got
Yep.
all these cards from all these different things that I'm like, I know. As weird as it sounds, I'm just like, what would I do? Go work for Impractical Jokers and then get
Right.
fired in 2 months?
Yeah.
What am I going to, Alicia and I are going to get divorced? I
Yeah.
saw all these scenarios that I'm like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
I want a dog in a yard and I want to live in Boston.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't think these people get me anyway. That's the other thing, guys, is I'm kind of weird with the comedy. And not as weird as, some other folks are, but I remember thinking up in Montreal too, I'm going to have to do this myself. And I think the greatest comedians are ones who are just like, whatever, fuck this,
Right.
fuck this system.
Yeah.
This thing is going to get big on its own, and I don't know if mine's going to get big on its own, but I also know.
But you're going to do it your way.
I'm going to do my own self, my own way. I'm
right.
a different comedian. I'm not coming through the front door with these people. I'm coming through the side door and hope that they get it, you know. So I knew that then. And then I did that one in Portland, Bridgetown, which was a cool festival. And I remember at that time I was 39. There's all these 23-year-olds. And Bridgetown is kind of like hey, you're going to get Montreal. Here's the festival you're going to do before, or at least it used to be. And I remember seeing all those young kids and thinking oh, I'm still writing jokes that are weird and dumb, and I'm old. So this is not going to shut off ever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm good with whatever happens in the industry because I don't think there's never going to be a Casey Crawford show on CBS. I know that. I'm not going to host a game show. Not going to do any of that shit, But 6 months after Montreal, I'm in Boston. I'm just working. And then the woman who booked me for Montreal saw me down there. It's weird with comedy. Sometimes people see you do comedy twice and they think you're great.
Yep.
As far as they know, that's how it goes every time.
Yeah.
And those Hollywood people.
Little do they know.
Those Hollywood people, they don't. Yeah, they see it twice, or they're just like, my assistant told me you were great. I got somebody, I didn't go to the show, but I heard you did well. Would you like to? There's a lot of that. And I'm like, this is all just bullshit. Okay, got it. Understood. It's a business.
Yep.
A lot of agents are like 25, and they're not an agent in 6 months. You know, there's a lot of that, you know. These are all things I'm just saying because they didn't give me a golden ticket up there, and I have to justify my existence. That's true. I know that. But I think any comic who's gone through that process will tell you it is kind of just like, it's just you are doing the best thing you can do comedically if you just keep doing whatever you're doing. Like,
I love that. I love that advice.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
But like, so I get this phone call from this woman. She's like, hey, I showed your tape to Jimmy Kimmel, and he loved it, and he wants you on the show. And I remember telling my wife at the time and thinking like, at the time I was like, I'll get something out of Montreal. I don't know what.
Yeah.
You know, I called the guy who was an agent maybe 6 months afterwards, and he's like, you should write for a TV show. And I'm like, I just want to do stand-up.
Yeah.
But no agent can make money off of you doing stand-up if you've only got 20 minutes.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
They can put a gamble on you and be like, I'm following this guy. This guy's my guy. He's a horse that someday he's going to win, but right now he's just a feature. Like, they didn't see that in me at all. I wasn't young or cool, you know? So, like, nobody on that level was like, whatever. I could have gone and maybe gotten some shit writing job or whatever, and maybe in retrospect I should have. But anyway, she's like, do you want to be on Jimmy Kimmel? And in my head I was like, I wish it was Conan.
No, I hear you there. Absolutely.
I think that's most at that time.
At the time for sure.
Or Letterman before that.
Yep.
Okay.
You know, but I'm like, yeah, you don't say no to TV. So
No, you can't.
I did it. I remember Ryan Donahue did it from Boston. And then Sam J did it, and she crushed. But I remember thinking after Ryan said that it was not going to be my crowd, that they weren't necessarily like people who would have gone to see me, and that it was going to be hard. And it was hard on like a level of like, I'll say this about shows and like prepping for something big. Try it in different rooms.
Yeah.
That sounds so obvious. But do your 10 when you get to your when you're like, oh, I got into a festival. Do that 10 in different rooms.
Yep.
I did mine at the studio in Boston every night for like a month.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what to expect. You know what the numbers are. But then I never did it really anywhere else, even outside of Boston. You know, so it's like, how do normal people who aren't like fans of alternative comedy going to react to this?
Yep.
And I didn't factor that in. I just thought it was going to be fine. Jimmy Kimmel liked it. He loved it.
Sure.
He'd quote my jokes to me.
Yep.
You know, like, it'll be fine. And then you get there, and it's like, I remember, I've said this before, but I remember the director, when we were they have you come out and do your set to just the crew, and they loved it. And the director was like, oh, I totally get what you're doing, man. Is there anything I can do to help you? And I'm like, could you put all the cool people up front? And or all the young people. I don't remember what I said. But I remember
stack the room somehow.
I'm in the green room. I don't feel like I should be there.
Yeah.
Pierce Brosnan.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, really?
And the girl from Felicity. And then like a band. They're there in their own rooms. Pierce Brosnan's wearing like a tuxedo. Oh my God. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing
And you
here?
ran back out to your van and got your tux.
I remember I called my friends. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm in the green room and I'm like, what am I doing here? But you don't say no to TV.
No.
You know? And, you know, Hollywood is really made, as the Red Hot Chili Peppers say, in a basement. I did my set. I remember the first joke. Sometimes I'll tell that lonely joke and people laugh for 30 seconds. You know, that's at the studio. Sometimes that's how it would go. Where it's just like, oh, it's like Nelson Cruz, home run on the first pitch. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of when you're dumb and you've not done TV before, that's your expectation for how it's going to go every single time. But TV is a different animal.
Yeah.
It is. It's live.
Yeah.
You can't just whatever. It's like riding a bull. You're not going to go 8 seconds the first time you do it unless a miracle happens or you're very comfortable. I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't in my element at all. I didn't like the situation. It's, you know, it's like, I hate these people. I've always hated.
You're never going to get another spot. You know that, right?
Popular culture.
Yeah.
I've always hated chicken finger comedy. I think it's like, come on, knock it off. But that's not everybody. 8 out of 10 people apparently love it.
They do. They seem to.
Yeah, but
you
I
get
remember
3 minutes. You get 3 minutes for that.
I wish I would have had longer. On Conan, they give you like 5 or 6.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so it's like in a different situation, I probably could have developed myself a lot better. And but at the same time, I'm like, anyway, the lights come on. I look out for the cool people in the front, and they all look like they work at a bank. Like it's
man.
Yeah, and I'm like, not my crowd. Not my crowd. I finished my set. I survived, and if it would have been, I think, the 3rd comic and a 5 comic bill would have been totally fine, but it was TV, so in my mind, I'm like, oh, geez, well, fuck it.
You get to do it.
Yeah, and I did it, and they pushed me out into the daylight. You know, Hollywood is. It is made in a Quonset. They pushed me out into the daylight of the alley, and I was back into real life, and I remember they picked me up in a black Escalade that drove me. This is Hollywood. I was at the Roosevelt Hotel, 2 blocks from where Jimmy Kimmel films.
Yeah.
They picked me up in an Escalade and drove me to Jimmy Kimmel through the alley.
Through the alley.
They paid a guy. A guy had to take.
Oh my!
That's his
goodness.
job. 2 blocks. And
That's
I'm not Matthew McConaughey, so he's just like, what is going on?
You gotta make sure you get there safe. I mean,
Yeah. But I remember at that time thinking, well, this is never going to happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
It's an experience.
you get your hand cut off by Darth Vader or you're Jamie Lannister and you're still alive.
I'm still alive.
You're still alive and you're getting better.
Yep.
Because, like I said, Nick, no one can tell you to stop doing comedy.
I love it.
Not even the people in charge.
That's right. That's right.
great.
That's a good point to end the discussion.
yeah.
That's a great story.
Oh, great.
I love
story.
it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. And I'll tell you guys this. You think this next thing is going to be the thing? There's so much up and down with this that'll be happening for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Tell your dad you're not going to, you kind of just got to head down and power through.
Yep.
And when you do it that way, when you don't think about other podcasts or other comedians and what they're doing, and we got to do this and we got to do this, and you just head down and be like, oh, we love doing this. And we'd be hanging out regardless, then you'll be fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Well, thank you very much, Casey Crawford. Really awesome to have you on the show. I think we should just end it there. This is.
I mean,
good.
unless you have something for Curse of
Do you have
Darkness.
something for Curse of Darkness?
So Curse of Darkness, I'll let you explain it.
Okay, so there's an idiom. I'd rather light a candle than curse the darkness. And it means like I'd rather do something about problems than just complain about them. But in opposition of that, we'd like you to complain about something that you don't have any plans to do anything about.
Let's see. You think I have an answer for this, Leonard?
That was the whole point.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a cliche and complain about comedy in the industry because I've just spent
No,
half
this
an
could be
hour.
anything like
Yeah.
toilet paper without an actual roll in it or something like that.
Oh my God, that happens?
I'll say this,
Oh.
and I don't know how related it is.
Okay.
And it's not related because I want to do something about it. There's not enough nice people in the world. And there's not enough nice people in comedy. There's a lot of assholes. It's like music.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm a sleazy guy who wants to fuck you. That's a lot of that. And there's too much of it in comedy.
Yeah.
And because of the money thing and the competition thing, it turns people into jerks.
Yeah.
And it's unnecessary. What is the point of that?
There is
Why
none.
fight someone when you're just telling jokes? So, like, I guess I'll say this. If I could throw my hands up at the world and say, what's wrong, but there's nothing, I don't know what to do about it, it's like, why aren't people nicer? Be nice. God damn.
Just be nice people. That's what I tell my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting in this industry because you know our job is to make people laugh. We're not boxers. We don't have to fight each other.
Yeah.
Like we all just want a room full of people to laugh.
Yeah,
And-
once you've been in like 4 scenes and you go to another scene where they're like, oh, that's the black guy in town who does comedy, and there's the fat guy, and you're like, oh, this is all just a trope?
Yep.
This is all just, and then I sit down, I'm like, how's it going here in Huntsville? And they're like, the fucking people in this town suck. Why can't I get on this show? And I'm like, oh, this happens everywhere.
Yeah. I've heard this story.
Yeah, I remember playing music and like as a band, to hear the other bands. Why can't we get in this room? And I'm like, oh, this just happens.
It's just the way it is.
Competition sucks.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Casey.
Fellas, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know how many people will listen. Usually, like my brother will listen to it or
That's
whatever.
good. That's
so
one more. That's,
There you go.
So that makes 14, I think.
All right, yeah, give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we really appreciate it.
Well, you guys seem like you're having a good time, and are we done recording? I consider you both friends.
No, you're a
thank
great
you.
friend.
Thank
no,
you so much.
And
sitting
not
down
just
with-
because you've paid me 3 times. Like I said, if I saw you at a mic in Boston, we'd sit together at the mic.
I like that.
I really appreciate that.
I look forward to that day.
Excellent.
It's not saying much, but yeah.
No, it's something.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks, Case.
Casey Crawford, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
fellas.
you.
That was Casey Crawford, a friend of comedy and a friend of the podcast and a friend of us and a friend to all of you and such a great comedian.
Yes, he's a great comedian, great guy, and really can't recommend him enough.
He's doing a summer residency at the comedy
studio?
yeah,
Okay.
in Boston. So if he's not one of our not on one of our shows or one of main event comedy shows or Portland Comedy Co-op shows or any show here in Maine, you can find him down in Boston. He's so good.
Great. All right. Thanks again to everyone who listened. Tell your friends and follow Comedy Think Tanked wherever you can. Be sure to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Find us on Instagram at Comedy Think Tanked, Twitter at Comedy Tanked, and our website, comedythinktanked.com. Email us at comedythinktanked@gmail.com. Good day.
Theme music was written and produced by a minor, Ralph Birgfeld. No comedians were hurt in the production of this podcast. All audio snippets of actual funny punchlines were not written or performed by any of us or our subsidiaries. Rather, they are express written bits of professionals we admire. Let the civil actions be filed. Any opinion heard, actual or implied, is that of the Comedy Think Tank producers and their guests. Any slight, insult, affront, slur, disparaging remark, snub, rebuff, rejection, or spurning, no matter how derogatory, pejorative, or abusive you may feel it is, was not intended, but for comedic, entertaining purposes only. Thanks for listening.
For shizzle, my nizzle.